Hey guys, welcome back to the cabin. This tree right here, the one that I just showed you, that is a yellow pine, or what we call a jack pine, and it is leaning over the cabin. So if it was to fall, then it's probably going to hit somewhere between the back corner of the house and the chimney. That's the thing about these, I've said this many times, but the yellow pines, they really don't have many branches going up. Then they bush out on the top. When you have a wet snow or heavy snow, then it settles on the branches and just collects. They get top heavy, and any little bit of wind just uproots them, because it's like taking a yardstick and putting, a 3-pound weight on the end of it. Anyway, there's a little bit of wind. It's swaying, but I think that the next nice day, if nothing happens and it doesn't snow anymore, this can dry out. That's the thing about living out here in the country. Every day things can change. So I think what I'm going to have to do is go around the cabin within the vicinity of the height of all of the yellow pine trees, and just unless they're leaning pretty good back in the other direction, I'm going to have to cut them all and at least get them down, because this is what can happen. I've also got one, we'll walk over here, that's hanging over the kitchen. So I had these made, and I think that they'll probably last as long as the cabin, however that may be. I'm not sanding this off, I'm leaving it rough, like it's more whittled out than it is sanded out. A little bit different look. What I ended up doing, I was actually going to use some grass rope and tie that around here for these tiebacks. I didn't want to make it out of the material. I got to thinking that I wanted something different. And as cheap as I could go, but still kind of cool looking, I found this black chain that's got about 1/2 inch lengths in it. And it's 10 foot, and it takes about 1 foot of this to go around it. Then I found these little black hooks right here like this. And so what I did was I came to about the center right here, because that's about where this is at right here. And I just put the little screw hook in here and then wrap the chain around it. So when I get ready to close the curtains at night, all I gotta do is pull the chain around, let it go, and the curtains will close. want to get your nose over there. It might get cut off. I know that window puts a big glare on this filming, so I decided to try and get everything prepared so that I didn't have to film that for you all to watch. Well, I don't know what happened here, but it looks like my cousin probably mismeasured because this one's about 3 inches too long, so we'll have to take this panel back and let him take that hem out and fix it. But all the rest of them are correct. Well, alright guys, I've got all the curtains in the kitchen done. Got the ones in the big room here done, the ones in the TV room done, and the ones in the bedroom done. So when my cousin gets the other 3 done, I can hang those. Got to take that one panel back for him to fix, but I think it's looking pretty good in here, and I think that the camo goes with the color on the camo and the pattern goes with everything else that I've done here, and I think that it makes it look really cozy, so I'm really happy with them. Last time I had to do this pretty much when I lived up north. Well, I just got done feeding the chickens and I started to walk in the house, and I thought, well, that's a pretty good angle of that tree. The farthest one to your right that you can see that's hanging up there, it would come straight this way if it would fall, which is kind of like I was saying, come right across between that back corner and the chimney. I did walk up there a while ago because this is the next day after the snow, and it is melting, but everything is so wet up there. I was going to try to hook a cable to it in my block and tackle, pull it down to one of the trees on the upper side, get my tractor up top here by the chicken house, and pull, basically pulling almost back in that direction, which would swing the top that way, and then go ahead and cut it, and it would fall on the far side of that poplar right there. But if it didn't, at least I've still got a hold of it as it's falling, and hopefully it's not going to swing over and hit the house. So even if it did fall on this side of the poplar, most of it would hit the back bank back there. But I'm trying to avoid hitting my deer fencing around my raised beds. So I'm going to wait another day or two until it dries up, and that way I can get some better traction with the tractor when I do pull tension on it, and possibly get somebody else up here, because working like that, you know, I have to put the ladder up the tree, I have to climb up about 24 feet, hook the cable onto it. You know, there's just a whole lot of things that could go wrong. So I'll probably wait until I've got some help to try to at least lay that thing down, and then when it dries up real good, I'll cut it up and buck it up. I might get a couple of logs out of it. Well, I knew that good weather couldn't last forever. We had around 70 and 75 degree temperatures for about 2 weeks during the Christmas break. So that was really nice, got a lot done. But, you know, whenever it snows, I've noticed I've got more trees up there that are bent over. Now, they'll be over so long, they'll maintain that position. So they'll have to be taken down. But, you know, this snow was actually good because it showed me, you know, what trees were actually a threat to the cabin. So I'll be sure and go, you know, and take that one down at least. I did go up there and look at the others, and they appear to be leaning in that direction. But came in, made myself some hot tea, and checked on the fire. It's 70 degrees in here, still doing well. It is around 1 p.m. Well, my son Patrick called, and he suggested that while it had been snowing, that I go over the top 10 items for the year of 2021 that helped build a cabin. I can't really remember the order in which he purchased them, but I do remember that I've had this for a little while. I think I got it in 2021. This is a DeWalt planer, and I'll tell you what, this thing really came in handy, because if I had some 2x10s that were crowned too high, I could basically plane those off. I used them on the siding, trying to get some of the ice off. I used it, just so many different things. I'll tell you what, this is a really nice planer, and it has been a very important tool. At one point, he had purchased this. I think this was last year too, because I do have a hand stapler. But this, what he bought me right here, it's a Milwaukee battery operated staple gun, and this has really come in handy too, because basically I didn't have to, the only pressure that I had to use on it was to hold it up. I didn't have to hold it up, try to press in and shoot the staple in. But you know, I don't mind the hard work, but he did get me this, and I will tell you what, it did come in handy. Came in handy up overhead too, putting that insulation in. I did all sorts of things with this. Putting that deer fencing up, I used it too. So it's kind of like a third hand, where you can, if you need something better than a staple, you can actually use the staple to hold something in place like that deer fencing, and then go back and actually add to that later. But yeah, this has been a real important tool as well. One of the other tools that he got me that has really come in handy, now he did get me the Milwaukee framing gun, But this one right here is a finish gun. This one is actually a Matebo that has really come in very, very, very handy on the cabin here, because I put up a lot of trim. I put up a whole lot of stuff with this. I put the paneling up on the bottom with it. Done quite a bit of stuff. This is really a valuable tool too here to have. And you know, most of the tools that I've got, I can actually use the batteries for several days before I have to recharge them. So there's been a lot of changes in the technology of the tools. So this is another important item. This Sawzall right here, I think he purchased this for me last year too, with some short and some long blades. I use this cutting out all the 2x4s in the doorway. I've used it reaching back in and cutting things off that I may have framed that, you know, needed to come out. Just, you know, this is a good, I've cut some of the windows out with, you know, when I put the siding up, went back and cut the windows out like this. But this is a really important tool too to have, because sometimes, you know, you can't saw with the circle saw. You have to get in there, especially, you know, if you're wrecking something out. This is a really great tool to have. But my point was, sometimes you can't reach in there with the skill saw and use or actually make your cut. You have to finish your cut with this. So this is another important item to have. He actually purchased this for me last year too. This is a Matebo jigsaw, battery operated. This has come in really handy on cutting out a lot of the corners and stuff, the finish work that I did on the siding, any of the trim that I did, cutting specialty cuts out of the drywall, out of the paneling down here, especially for all the electrical outlets, cutting, you know, trim pieces out. So this is another very valuable tool to have. And again, you know, these will last several days without being recharged. Now I know this one right here will go back into the following year, but I thought I would go ahead and add that in there. I'm still using this. The guard actually came off. There was a piece that broke because I'm really rough on the tools up here, but I have to send it off in order to get it repaired. But this one I'm still using. This is such a great tool right here. This is Matebo Skill Saw, and these batteries under normal use will last me about 3 days, regardless pretty much of what I'm doing. Of course, the bigger material, like if I'm cutting the plywood, it may only last 2 days, because, you know, you're making long cuts with that, so you're holding the battery on for a much longer time. But, you know, if it's 2x4s or 2x10s or 2x6s, it seems like that battery just keeps going. But this is another really valuable tool to have. These two items he purchased for me at the same time, kind of like a set. Maybe it was a set. I don't remember. But anyway, this is basically an impact drill, and this one is a hammer drill. And I'll tell you what, I really like both of these right here. This has so much torque. It comes with a handle, and I've got it in my toolbox in there that goes on the side right here. And I'll tell you what, for a small piece of machinery that's battery operated, this thing can jerk your arm off. They have made so much changes in the technology, and I would have never believed it, but this right here is a really, really important tool to have. You know, even if you weren't building a house, I would suggest, if you're a homeowner and you want a good drill, something that has power regardless of whether you need it or not, but to be able to have that power, this DeWalt tool right here, this hammer drill, this would be the ticket for you right here. And also this impact drill. This is a really nice tool to have too, because I have used it setting all of these screws on a hex head, and I'll tell you what, it'll just keep driving them. So this is another really important tool to have, and they come with this little hook that you can hook on your belt as well. So again, both are DeWalt. Now I've got a lot of different tools that are different brands, and he normally looks at the reviews when he buys me something, not just the same brand. Which, you know, some people, they want all the same brand, but he's trying to order me the tools that have the highest reviews, you know, based on contractors who actually use them. But anyway, great set of tools right here. And then last but not least is this new Milwaukee Skill Saw. Now this handle's not on the top, it is from the rear. This has lots of power right here. This is basically a framing skill saw because it's actually too heavy to actually use like my Matebo and then really any other way. But I had always wanted a rear-handled one, and for a lot of the construction that I'm going to be doing, this one's really going to come in handy. I wish that this was on the right-hand side, but I've had to learn to adapt for it to being on the left-hand side. But I'll tell you what, this thing right here, if it's something really thick, which is, you know, some of the stuff that I've been doing lately is very thick, this thing, it just cuts through it just as smooth as it can, and it doesn't really bog it down any. So this is another important tool, especially if you're doing a lot of heavy-duty work framing like I am. You might want to try out one of these. During the day, I just try to use some of these oddball pieces and just kind of keep the fire going, because it seems like it will keep the house warm, and those are so small it's not something that I would actually put in there at nighttime before I go to bed, because I would want it to last longer. I do set my alarm periodically to get up and check the fire. But anyway, guys, I hope that last part right there that my son suggested helped out in some way. They were very important for us up here off-grid, because all the other tools that I had are basically powered, and I would have to turn the generator on. So that is one reason that we went cordless, and I would have never thought. You know, he kept telling me, "Dad, they have changed the technology." And me being old school, you know, just didn't want to give in. But, you know, change is good, especially if it's for the better. And they did better the battery-operated tool. So I think we have replaced every tool that I've got, corded tool with a battery-operated tool, so I actually have both. If I'm going to be doing something that's long-term, I'll probably go ahead and fire up the generator. But anyway, guys, we appreciate you stopping by and tuning in while we're working up here on the cabin. My son, my daughter, and I, we can't thank you enough for all the support that you give us, especially on both of our channels. And if you're new here, be sure and go check out Outpost Review. It's a behind the scenes on what's going on up here. And we also do monthly giveaways. Go to our website, SmokyMountainOutpost.com. You can check out all the details there on how to enter, and also our new tier system that we have for milestone giveaways. Anyway, guys, we hope each and every one of you have a great afternoon. You all take care, and we look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.